Well, on a wet, grey day like today, Catherine, it's a delight to come into such a colourful new exhibition. You've done posters before. What's special about this one?
Yeah, you might remember, Richard, we did the wonderful Toulouse-Lautrec French posters exhibition a couple of years ago. And sort of basically inspired by that, because it was fascinating and wonderful, but it made us think, what about the posters in our own collection? Can we do something along the same lines? We're lucky to have posters in our collection here at the gallery, and also Bath Record Office has a collection of posters. So we've sort of combined things from the two collections and brought a few in on loan and put together this wonderful exhibition about British poster design.
There are a variety of themes. I mean, roughly, can you tell us what it includes from X to Y, if you see what I mean?
Well, there's a little bit of a local slant in the exhibition. So, for example, the oldest poster that we have on display is from 1805, and it's for a production of Richard III at the Theatre Royal when it first opened.
Wow.
And then we go right up to 1980s and 1990s theatre posters as well. So there's theatre, there's also World War I recruiting, which we can see here.
Let's go across and have a look at this.
And as far as we can tell, these posters were actually displayed here in 1914, 1915 to drum up recruitment for World War I, because of course this at that point was Bath Library as well as the gallery. It was a public building, so just the kind of place that they would have wanted recruiting posters on display. But fortunately, as a bit of a contrast to that, we've got this lovely poster from 1918 by Frank Brangwyn. It's called The Sower, and it represents the hope of a new world without war and, you know, kind of sowing seeds for peace and prosperity in the post-war period. And it's quite nice to have that preaching pacifism alongside the more, you know, kind of gung-ho message of the World War I recruiting posters.
We plough the fields and scatter. Well, if I turn your attention to what's on the wall on your left, I mean, I talked about colour. Wow, this really hits you in the face. Rosemary and Clifford Ellis, there's a local connection there?
Yeah, absolutely. They were a couple who worked very closely together as designers at the beginning of the 1930s, and they created wonderful posters for London Underground, for BP and Shell and all sorts of other companies. They were incredibly successful as designers, and we've got a fantastic array of their posters here. But during the 1930s, their careers sort of developed, and they became more and more involved in education. And Clifford Ellis, of course, became director of Bath Academy of Art and ran it in his heyday in the 1960s when there were many, many leading British artists working there. But it's quite nice to show this earlier part of his career. And yes, of course, these posters, they're absolutely gorgeous and really eye-catching.
Did it make a great difference when it comes to printing posters, the arrival of colour? The early posters seem to be very much the written word, and then you have this change, this transformation to really catching the eye with colour, with visual stimulus.
Yeah, absolutely, because with the oldest posters in the exhibition, they're monochrome, maybe they're on coloured paper, but you know, it's just black ink, with designers working really hard to create sort of, you know, an eye-catching image using text alone. The exhibition is broadly chronological, so as you walk around the exhibition, you can see the development of poster design as colour comes into it, and then towards the end of the exhibition, of course, we've got some pretty recent photographic-based posters. So yes, you see a huge development in poster design through the course of the exhibition, because it covers 200 years. So of course, things change hugely during that period.
Catherine, I can't believe it. Reading this poster from long ago, actually objecting to working men having a public library?
I know, it's a real shocker, isn't it? Which is why we included it in the exhibition, because it's so good to be able to reflect politics in Bath 100 years ago or more. And I have to say, it wasn't just an issue for working men, it was an issue for women as well. And the background to this is the wealthy of Bath didn't really want a penny put on the rates or whatever it was in order to pay for a public library, because as the rich people, they already had plenty of books, and they felt that books would be wasted on the poor. So yes, it's an absolute shocker, isn't it?
It's also quite ironic that you're exhibiting that poster in what was
Bath Library,
Bath
yes.
Library.
Because of course, this room was Bath Library for very nearly 100 years.
Now, moving on from that particular poster, we were saying about how important the written word was. We have a Sydney Gardens floral fete, and I take it, is that the funeral of Queen Victoria?
Yeah, absolutely. So with these posters, you can see colour just starting to creep into design. And I think with the floral fete poster, they've used beautiful, kind of amazingly designed typefaces, and yes, bringing colour into the posters for the first time. Though it is said that the green ink may well have included arsenic.
Oh, good
because,
heavens.
arsenic was a common ingredient in green ink, so we've been told not to lick that poster. You need to be very, very careful with it.
And then, tucked here in the corner, I'm amused because it's Babes in the Wood, and more on that in a moment. Drury Lane, but that is fantastic.
Yeah, this one is absolutely gorgeous and very much of its time. This one has been generously lent to us by Bath Spa University. We're very grateful to have it in the exhibition because it's not just a gorgeous poster in itself, it's also very, very interesting because it was designed by John Hassall, and he was one of the main poster designers of the early 20th century, known, probably best of all known for his amazing Skegness is so bracing image of the kind of tubby chap skipping along the beach.
Well, I'm going to make you do the leg because they can't see me. That's the guy with the foot in the air, isn't it?
Yes,
hey,
absolutely. Full of the joys of the seaside.
And then, as you say, the arrival of colour and some amazing posters here, including Bath's historical pageant. There's a whole book on that, isn't there? Was that one of Kirsten Elliott's? I'm not sure, but that's beautiful too.
Yeah, it's lovely to get this on display because the Bath pageant is one of those things a lot of people don't know about. But in 1909, when the pageant was staged, it must have completely taken over the city with hundreds and hundreds of local people dressed up as Romans and Elizabethans and all sorts, celebrating the history of Bath. But the Bath pageant was mainly staged in order to kind of boost tourism to Bath, which actually fits in rather nicely with the railway posters that we have on display, which very much hark back to the city's Roman and Georgian past. So it's really nice the way in which posters through the exhibition kind of connect with one another.
And imagine staging something like that today. It would never happen, would it?
It wouldn't, but it must have been amazing and completely bonkers.
Well, Katharine, we're down at the other end of the gallery and looking at a whole selection of Bath Festival posters going back quite a way. Of course, the festival's still going strong. And then we move across Bath Academy of Art into pantos and plays. Dear Leslie Crowther, they're doing Aladdin at the Theatre Royal. And we find you right here. And to your right, a poster of Deborah Carr. The Corn is Green at the Theatre Royal Bath. You actually saw her in this, didn't you?
I did, and I have to admit, this is why I put the poster on display, because it was a very, very memorable evening for me. I grew up watching lots of Hollywood films on TV, so when we found out that Deborah Carr was going to be on at the Theatre Royal, my entire family was very, very excited, really looking forward to it. But in the end, the play turned out to be memorable, kind of for the wrong reasons, because poor Deborah Carr, she really struggled to remember her lines, and there were lots of moments through the course of the play where she just completely dried up. So yes, sadly, this one, memorable for the wrong reasons.
She wasn't born in Weston-super-Mare, but she was educated there. And I have to say, I do have a signed photograph from dear Deborah Carr. And now you said this was your choice. I'm delighted to see over your shoulder. Ah, I recognise this. Who's that chap? Richard Wyatt in Babes in the Wood at the Theatre Royal, 1989. Wow, thank you very much indeed for putting that one up.
Well, it's a pleasure. I mean, we thought it would be great to include some pantomime posters because, you know, everybody goes to the pantomime, everybody has memories of pantomimes. And yes, when we were looking through the theatre posters in the record office, it was interesting to come across a poster with somebody that we know depicted on it, but just a little bit younger then.
That's very kind of you. It was quite a while ago, but still something I remember fondly. But it's quite funny, you talk about Deborah forgetting her lines. I can still remember every night waiting in the wings thinking, tonight I'm going to forget my lines. Luckily, I never did. Roy, of course, and Geoffrey Hughes, they're two real pros, no longer with us, sadly, but I just didn't want to let him down. And you have these sort of after-show parties, and I can remember one about halfway through the run where he actually called me over and he went, "You're doing okay." And I thought, oh, thank God for that.
High praise.
Now, we'll end this section with a stand-alone poster, another Theatre Royal poster, June Whitfield in The Rivals. Isn't that currently showing? Not that particular production.
Yes, it is. I mean, we decided to put this poster into the exhibition because, of course, The Rivals by Sheridan was written in Bath and it's about Bath. So it's a perennial favourite. There have been many productions of it at the Theatre Royal, including one this week, which is an absolutely amazing coincidence.
Catherine, I think people are going to come and be very impressed and certainly enjoy the selection of posters and in a way be educated as to how posters have changed over 200 years, but there's going to be a lot of memories too. I mean, you've got Godspell behind you, one of my favourite musicals of all time. And look at that, for those of us who remember the Monkees, there's Davy Jones. Yeah. I wish you every success with this one. Thank you.
Right, thank you.